What is up, my friends? Welcome to another episode of Dostcast. मेरा नाम है विनम्र कसाना. अगर आप इस चैनल पे पहली बार आए हैं, consider subscribing because we release new episodes every Tuesday and Friday at 12 p.m. Indian Standard Time. If you are listening to this podcast on an audio platform, make sure you give us 5 stars because we're the best in Bharat. आज के हमारे गेस्ट का नाम है Aadar Malik. You know him from the internet set, so one of the top guys there. Also from his play and stage career. Also as the dude who makes musical parodies and मजेदार musical गाने बनाते हैं. Aadar seems to be in everything from acting to stage to comedy to podcasting to whatever else. ठीक है? We had a very freewheeling conversation about anywhere from कैसे barbers तुम्हें परेशान करते हैं, stagecraft क्या होता है, what are some exercises in which you can release tension as an actor and which is helpful for people watching as well, right? The difference between comedy scenes here, comedy scenes abroad, and overall बहुत ही बढ़िया, बहुत ही fun conversation. One of the easiest guys to talk to, one of the friendliest guys, and I had the pleasure of witnessing him live on stage as a character in Rajat Kapoor's play. What's done is done. The episode with Aadar Malik begins in 3, 2, 1. Bro, एक बात बताओ. I saw you at Kamani Auditorium.
हाँ.
Insane performance.
Thanks,
मतलब Rajat sir ने मेरे को invite करा. मैं गया. I'd seen this play in Prithvi Theatre like 4 or 5 years ago. So it was a while. And I knew that you were a comedian, you were on the internet set, so, right, you make parody music, all that jazz. But I did not know that you kill it on stage as well. कि इतना बढ़िया scene था. तो, have you always learned this stagecraft, play? मैं कैसे समझाऊँ इस चीज़ को? What I'm trying to ask is like, did you, for example, go to a preparatory school for acting on stage in plays?
I ended up going to on stage. I'd done acting classes because I had stage fright, and it was primarily for music. So if I'm like playing the piano or something like that, my knees would buckle. ऐसा डर लगता था पूरा. And फिर मैंने क्या किया? Somebody suggested कि acting classes कर ले. तो मैंने acting classes की went to a couple of small workshops.
This was here in Mumbai?
Mumbai. So really horrible one. I went to a really horrible one, very filmy, and I saw the people that were coming there. I was like, ये तो मैं कर सकता हूँ यार. What the fuck is happening, dude? This is so trashy. The kind of people who are expecting themselves to, like, they train you. A lot of the Mumbai schools, they are training you to become stars and not actors.
What's the difference?
Yeah, huge difference. Because you're famous for being famous wala chakkar hai na.
Okay.
So you really want to be a roadie, but you've decided to become an actor. So that's the difference. Actually, not even a roadie. Like I said, there was a point when like roadie used to be fun. You had Ayushmann Khurrana and all these guys.
Yeah.
You really want to be on Splitsvilla.
So it's more for appearances and less about...
Yeah, you just want to be famous. It has nothing to do with the craft. The thing is with comedy and all, like, even the people I'm like, we would do this even if you gave us a shit ton of money. It's like, hey, no, now it's even more fun because now I get to do this every day without worrying about money.
Yeah.
So it's about getting to do it every day.
But Joe, the classes you were going to, you decided कि यार यहाँ पे तो I'm being taught shitty acting.
Yeah.
So did you read up books? Did you go to Jeff Goldberg school where they teach method acting? Like, what did you do?
So I went to Barry, and the thing is that Barry John came to Bombay and there was nobody. Nobody showed up for his class because the guy didn't advertise. So
Okay.
like 5 people showed up for a 3-month course.
That's insane.
So we had a lot of time on our hands because the course is usually catered to around a class of 15 or 18 people. कोई नहीं था. And Saurabh Sachdev, who's also like a very great acting coach now, he's gone his own way and he's like really, like, he's one of the most respected people in Bombay with regard to acting work. So Saurabh ne jo consistently like tries to push you, उसके साथ बहुत, I think I got to learn. And then there were a lot of books available to actually just open your mind up. And then now last year, I went to do my master's in classical acting in London. So I just finished my master's.
Congrats.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Did you pass?
Yeah, I passed. I just got, 2 weeks ago, no, 1.5 weeks ago, I got my final,
Yeah.
final, this
isn't classical acting the kind of acting that they did in Hollywood in the 50s and 60s, where it's more about animated expressions and less subtlety?
It's more animated, so it's more Shakespearean, more over the top. But then there's Chekhov also. So
Okay.
you're playing with not just 50s and 60s. You're going to 1600s. You're
Okay.
dealing with that text. So that's the, and it was, I really, and the thing is like, I was so excited. हाँ मैं वहाँ जाऊँगा, acting ही तो है. And I'll be putting up YouTube videos. I'll set up my whole corner in the house जहाँ पे मैं रोज गाना बनाऊंगा एक और गाना डाल दिया करूँगा every week. ये करूँगा. My YouTube channel will be insane. And साथ में then I'll keep doing the podcast whenever I have the time.
Yeah.
It was a full-time course. कुछ time नहीं मिला मुझे करने के लिए. My brain was so preoccupied. You just don't have any creative energy left.
And this is despite the fact that people say that method acting is tougher and classical acting. Also, पहले कर रखा था Barry John वाला तो was it not just a simple transition from hey bro मेरे को acting आती है अब थोड़ी और advanced acting है. Like what did you do in your masters?
So with Barry, what happened was we were doing it was a step towards theatre. So that was the bigger step. And again, it was a three-month course. And weirdly enough, my batch had like really good actors. I think and we all kind of ended up doing a play with Barry right after our course got done. So there was the weekdays and the weekends. And weekends pe we had people like Richa Chadda, Jacqueline Fernandez, and these people had started like really joining in. And I think they took the weekend because they were not from the city. Maybe I'm wrong, but weekends worked better for them because then weekdays they could work and then they could still come on the weekends. And I was 18, 19, तो मेरे लिए weekdays weekend का फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा था. I was just in college and I had made it a point to be on stage. But
what was your first guitar? Gibson or Gibson?
My first guitar was a GBNA that a kid didn't want.
GBNA क्या है?
GBNA is अपना Bhargava's music is this
Yeah,
in Bombay
I know
and this is
Bhargava,
their
yeah.
so this is their thing. But the guitar was a secondary instrument. The first was always piano.
Yeah?
Yeah. Piano was the main instrument. I still think in terms of piano first language है.
हाँ.
तो अगर क्या होता है तू मेरे को कुछ बोल रहा है तो मैं हिंदी में डाल के फिर इंग्लिश में ट्रांसलेट करके
Sheet
बता रहा हूँ
music,
तुझे.
you know how to read.
Very clearly.
Yeah.
So तो अगर तू मेरे को so that's still my first language. So even गिटार भी देगा तू मेरे को हाथ में तो I will think piano and then retranslate it to the guitar based on my
समझ गया.
music
For
sense.
every multi instrumentalist सबका यही होता है ना, they have this one instrument and उसके सारे scales वो आगे पीछे मतलब they translate that. So you took piano lessons as a kid?
Yeah, from 7 through
ये तो Asian parents कराते हैं सिर्फ.
हाँ बहुत. अरे our family it was tough, man.
Yeah?
You can't not learn an instrument.
Why is that?
Like, I'm Anu Malik's nephew, dude. This is Amal,
shit.
Arman. We all used to go to the same classes. All that shit, dude. So we were like, and I think the worst teacher I had was she used to hit me on my hands. And it took me a while to tell my mom ke ये शायद गलत है. Because you would assume that your mother has dropped you here.
Right.
So that means she knows what's going on. So she's intentionally sent you to a person who hits you on your hands.
Yeah.
But
कुछ लोग तो पेरेंट्स encourage कर लेते हैं, मैं और माना करूँ.
हाँ, but ये नहीं था. It's like my mother now, and now when my mother talks about it to me, it's like, if you told me then, I would have given her a piece of my mind. Like,
yeah,
it's just, but then as a kid, तुमको समझ नहीं आता ना. You think your parents have intentionally put you here to get punished.
Did you ever ask Anu Malik, why can I not come to Mumbai?
Why can I not come to Mumbai?
अरे वो बोलते थे ना कि तुम मुंबई आए हो, तुम नहीं आ रहे हो.
अच्छा.
Is that a running joke?
हाँ, नहीं dude.
नहीं.
It's quite chill. But their stories are next level. We don't need to give these references because the internal stories that they have.
Yeah.
Oh shit, dude. The kind of like if all three of them get together in a room and they really start reenacting all the Bollywood A-listers who've they seen do really stupid dumb shit.
Yeah.
It's something. We could really sell this to like a Netflix and like make a lot of money. Just them sitting and like ratting out everybody else.
I think that'll be pretty awesome. But so you were in a musical family and you had to learn the piano, and at that point, like, were you learning Bollywood numbers or proper sheet music hota hai?
No, sheet music. It used to be the whole Trinity College syllabus and
Acha.
yeah.
Grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Then I did. I went up to 5 very easily, which was fun, and apparently that was we were told at the time this is professional grade, and now you can be like you're good enough to be handling yourself in a recording studio, which we always were comfortable being in a recording
Right.
studio. Uh, and I think by the time I was giving my 8th grade, I was also giving my 10th exam, which is a big deal. So
वैसे prodigy type का scene prodigy type का scene था क्या?
no, dude, this was quite common, but I did feel happy that I was one of the younger people who was giving because sometimes you would sit at the exam outside the door and you're talking to people who are like, what grade? And they're panicking. It's like, "Nee, fourth grade, what are you giving?" And they're assuming you'll say 1, you're saying 8. So you're like 4 years ahead of what these guys are doing, and you're probably 12 years younger than them. But when I was giving my 8th, my grandfather was in the ICU and I was giving the 10th standard. So I used to sit on the hospital stairs and like do my 10th ka padai. And us chakkar mein I ended up failing the 8th, and then like shit just went like, because then you were studying and you want to clear 10th standard properly. So then I kind of took a back step from like doing this, and then I met a teacher who's like asked me, what do you want to do? I said, I want to compose music. He's like, so compose music, who's telling you to give exams? And then he started making me explore all these really great artists. He introduced me to the Beatles. He introduced me to this kind of music. And at 16, 15 years old, then you suddenly start seeing the richness of the blues and, that kind of music. So it just really excites you.
Did you translate, say, someone like a Thelonious Monk to the piano या ऐसा कोई? Because once you have the blues pianists, और वो भाई, it's a different style of training, right? Like from what you know. Yeah.
I tried. I started amalgamating a lot of that into very pop. And I left it for a while. When I started acting, I think I let go of music for a while until stand-up comedy came in, and then I think Thakur Varun was like, and I was doing improv with them. So improv comedy was a really big deal for our group, and I spoke to Bridge, who was leading the team, and he's like, yeah, there are improvisers and there are stand-up comedians, and like there's there's Tina Fey, who's just incredible improviser, great writer, insanely good writer. So it's like, oh, this is not a bad blueprint. Tina Fey is a great blueprint to follow.
Right.
And so I was like, nahi, main jaane de raha hu stand up. And the Bridge was like, cool, man. Everybody has their own way of doing comedy. You enjoy yourself, and you're a theater rat, so you enjoy just being part of like acting on stage more than you would just stand up comedy. I was like, हाँ ठीक है. Varun told me that if I could play an instrument, I would just do that on stage. So he had this one show that he was doing at Blue Frog or something, and he's like, एक show कर, just open for 10 minutes before I go on stage. Just do it once. Just write songs and come.
Yeah, and parody songs.
Yeah, no, but I couldn't write parodies. I had to do originals. So that's when like parody has become this umbrella term for comedy music, but it's actually comedy music. Where parody would be something that you take an existing track and try to infuse something new in it.
Who's the Russian name who does it America successfully? Yevez something, I'm forgetting the name.
Weird Al Yankovic.
Yes, Weird Al Yankovic, right? He was the king of it.
Yeah, so what he's done is extraordinary. I think he did more for parody music than anyone else. And then you've got your Flight of the Conchords, you've got Bo Burnham, you've got Tim Minchin, who are doing their original tracks which are on topics which are funny.
Yeah, comedic.
So I'm looking at that direction more. I enjoyed Weird Al, and now I think, in fact, India is a very tough place to do parody music because of rights. Try to put one track on this video right now, on this podcast, you're going to have problems on YouTube.
Yeah.
And that's India. So even if you add something and change something, whereas there, if he's adding something, he shares the rights to the new song with Michael Jackson. It's weird. They've won a Grammy together for Eat It. He won a Grammy and it's shared with Michael Jackson because he made a parody on a Michael Jackson song.
Grammy में parody category है.
It is. They've got stand-up comedy is a category. There's parody, that's a category. So it's like you're adding something new and they see it as another creative endeavor.
It's changing now though because YouTube ने recently एक policy निकाली है where if you use an artist's music, and this is applied to India also, you share the revenue 50-50.
Right.
Something like that. So that makes it easier.
So I have to re-educate myself on that, and now I'm going to start doing it more. But I needed to figure out mera system kya hai I needed to be my foundation to be strong in that aspect. I didn't want it to be strong with parodies.
Right.
I wanted it to be strong with my tone of music and my kind of idea of what I want as an artist for musical comedy.
Right.
Which became, and my references were people like Tim Minchin, people like Victor Borge, which is like this incredible pianist from the 50s. And he used to do like incredible clowning bits with the piano. And
so he's dressed up as a clown and...
No. Just in a proper tuxedo, doing it like he's playing Moonlight Sonata, but he's doing it in such a weird way. Like he would do stuff like, if he's there's one bit that he does is like pum dun 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 pum pum dun dun. He would play it wrong, and he would play it wrong 3 times,
and then laugh.
And then people are laughing because he's playing it wrong, and he's got the sheet music. And then he would get up angrily and then push the piano a little to the right. And then go dun 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 pum pum, and then he would play it correctly. He was like, "Oh, that was the problem. The piano was a little to the left."
Oh, so it becomes an entire act.
He would do this physical act using these incredible piano pieces. He wouldn't really sing. You know, he would talk on stage. So he was doing a bit, and you would watch him use the instrument in a way that it's not just about Gana Gadia music instrument. You can know that there's more to it. You've got a prop on stage that you can really enjoy. So it's like a lot of references that came in, clowning came in. So it was very exciting for me to use something like that.
Have you seen the video of एक Harvard के अंदर there's this Turkish guy with a mandolin guitar or something like that जो बैठता है एकदम पे and he's playing it badly and then fumbling. And all of a sudden he's like and then people are like what the fuck. I think that deliberate fumble is just अगर वो सीधा आके शुरू करता ना कि मैं कितना बड़ा maestro हूँ, people would not appreciate it.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's like, yo, look, I'm fumbling, and you know, like if you do arm wrestling and you're really strong, but you're like, oh, and like you're हार रहे हो फिर एकदम पे ऐसे
it's more exciting, no?
Yeah, it is exciting.
It's like the audience is rooting for you and then you succeed. So you faked them wanting to root for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just wondering, so at what point did you decide to like collaborate with Rajat sir and start doing these shows?
I was doing theatre when after I got done. So like 19, 20, I just started doing a lot of theatre. And
that मतलब 19-20 की तुम्हारी age थी, not the year.
हाँ. And then kept doing it, and went through a lot of shitty plays, lot of horrible plays, and started doing slightly better stuff and better. Then ended up meeting Rajat, and we started with this play called As You Like It. He wanted to adapt As You Like It, and it was a lot of improvisation, lot of trying to take the script, and we would read a scene that he feels is a pivotal scene from the play, and we would read it 5-7 times and then try to improvise our way through it through clowning and this and that. And he had like a lot of actors come in, so everybody was trying to try their own thing over and over again, and then ultimately he kind of zeroed down the cast. He zeroed down, okay, this is me, and so Cyrus Sahukar was also on the cast. And now the thing is, it's the first time he's doing a comedy. He's done Hamlet, he's done King Lear, he's done Macbeth at this point. This is the first time he's addressed a Shakespearean comedy. So now the pressure is that it has to have laughs. And the two people who are essentially making a living out of comedy at that point was Sahukar and me. So we were very worried that agar ye tank hua, to it'll be... The thing is, all the other people are dramatic actors doing comedy.
Yeah.
Here we are sitting there with professional comedians screwing up. So we were very worried. And up till 1 week before the opening night, which is NCPA at the main NCPA Baba Hall, I think, which is the biggest one in Bombay. The biggest NCPA. And that's the opening show. And it's sold out. So we're like, Rajat, you have to tell us what's going to happen on stage. Because up till this point, we have no idea. We just have scenes. And then he suddenly went into this weird Christopher Nolan mode where it's like, okay, you've seen that video where Christopher Nolan explains how he writes a script.
No, I have not.
So it's this thing that he does where it's like there's story 1, story 2, and it's like he's creating this weird sine wave, and he goes, okay, you watch a scene from this, you watch a scene from this, you watch a scene from this, and he's just making crisscrosses, and he knows where he is going. And he goes, okay, we are doing this scene, followed by this scene, followed by this scene, followed by this, and literally in one dinner session, he's now cleared up what this 1.5 hour, 2 hour show is going to be.
You never had a full run, like scene by scene playthrough?
Until 1 week before opening night.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and that also, it was a stumbled show that happened 1 week before, and then we were like, how is this going to happen? And then suddenly in like the next 5 days, we had a pretty chiseled product. And after the first show, we knew exactly what we needed to do.
Did you not beta test this at all? At smaller like venues?
No.
For like a friendly audience?
It was part of this thing called the Adhyam Festival. So one of the contingencies were that it has to premiere at Adhyam.
Okay.
So a lot of the plays then were like scripted shows and this and that, and then this was non-scripted. And the thing is, all his other shows, he's had soft openings. Hamlet, I think, so Namit Das was on Hamlet, and he told me that he didn't figure out what his character was till the 40th show.
That's crazy.
Because they were constantly improvising on stage.
And what is it like? Because you said Vinay Pathak ji, he's a funny professional actor, right? Like, I don't know him. That's what I would define him based on the roles that I've seen.
Yeah, he's a weirdo. We can say it. Vinay, you're a weird human being.
But your chemistry with him at Kamani Auditorium was insane, where he's kind of like the older clown. You're like the naive-ish clown, and your slapstick naivete is very attractive.
So what I think that came from As You Like It, because we were there on As You Like It together, and it was more it was that we were competitors in As You Like It because we were trying to do the same role in As You Like It. That was the story in As You Like It, where we're all trying to do the lead role, and ultimately I get to be Rosalind, and she's the protagonist of As You Like It. So then the fighting constantly is happening about like Orlando and Rosalind, who's going to play these two titular characters, kind of in a way. But our play, it doesn't matter because it's just everyone's just on stage all the time. So it's just, that's the fun of it. That was that constant tug of war that we were doing, and I think that relationship really helped because we were working together for months on that show.
Right.
And this show was with him and Jim Sarb. So him and Jim Sarb were actually the clowns on stage for Macbeth, and they kind of had this thing going about this Julio Pedro, and Jim kind of bought the Mexican clown on stage. Mine was a very Italian from As You Like It, and then I kind of tried my best to make it my own and enjoy it, which was a little different from what his relationship with Vinay was. And we just like, and then I think we fell into a groove where, okay, now Vinay understood that this is, and that's where like his awesomeness as an actor and a co-actor comes in, because he's very flexible with what I do versus what like Jim does. And so it's like, I play with him in a very different way, and my sense of comedy is very different compared to
actual play ke andar. Is there clowns, or is that like Rajat sir's take on it? Because matlab jo ye they sort of come in as people. Context ka bhi yahi hai ki iska Macbeth, the play, right, that Shakespeare wrote, ki these clowns kind of come in to break tension and ground the story in contemporary times, and also like, you know, fuck around a lot.
Yeah, so the thing is, it's one of those things where it's like these characters are not there in the actual show. So we come in as the clowns, because the clown, I think Macbeth is as far away from the clowns, because Hamlet was the closest to clowning. And then he had another show called C for Clown, which was the first one that he had done with clowning. And that didn't really have a Shakespeare script on it.
That was just him.
Huh?
That was just Rajat sir on his own.
No, that was Rajat, Vinay, Atul Kumar, Joy Fernandez, I think Mohit. Mohit does a lot of theater in Delhi now. Shiba. So like really great actors were on board for that show, and it was all improvised, and they created a story which was like really beautifully done. And Vinay dies in that show, and then they still continue doing a show with Vinay, because we're all clowns, they have to be on stage. And you know, there are stories where like while Vinay is dead, Atul would like mess around with him and tell him that he's got Vinay by like he can try to make Vinay laugh, and now Vinay has to still be dead, and because they're still clowns, so they're still constantly clowning around on stage. But that was essentially the idea, to create something that's similar to that, but then has a very, very popular story attached to it, which was Hamlet. And Hamlet was I think, the really chiseled piece of clowning and Shakespeare.
Yeah, Adar, ye clowning exactly like what this is entail? Like, are you? Because I remember I saw an ad for a clowning workshop once. I had to, I had to go somewhere. Actually, I was supposed to work with Rajat sir as his casting associate at that time. So I skipped the clowning workshop and moved to Mumbai for that time. So otherwise I wouldn't. मेरे को context होता है clowning क्या होती है. But I saw the videos of the people who went in my place, and they were forced to cry on command, या अजीब अजीब हरकतें कर रहे थे अपनी बॉडी के साथ, घूम रहे थे. मतलब how do you learn clowning and what the fuck is it?
So it depends on what kind of clown are you looking at. Are you looking at a red nose? Alag hai. So it's the one that we are using. We're painting our face and everything, and we're doing the whole thing. Then there's the red nose clowning, which is a very actor oriented, which is what I did at the masters. So there's the August clown, which is the very, nakchada wala, and like you've really got an air about yourself. Then there's the kind of the meek one, and so there's different personalities that you kind of adopt, and you find your own way in what your clown is. You name it, you create an act around it. What's your little piece? And it's always the red nose clowning usually has somebody on the outside talking to the clown and really going to town on destroying the clown's entire self-confidence. And that's also, it's all about,
as a practice or as a part of the act.
It's usually part of practice, and I don't know how much of it ends up. It's a great acting tool and practice. What we do, I think, has more application in real life, because you're trying to create something, you're trying to tell a story. Whereas here you're creating an act which will be a great 10-minute act, but it's kind of dependent on people on the outside talking to you and things.
And does it psychologically free you up to be, say, more funny and more slapstick in real life, and kind of like also free up some of the tension in your face? Because I mean, अगर normal जिंदगी में जाते हैं,
I personally was a little over, like I used to enjoy expressing, and I think the clown kind of comes out in that space. When you're doing stage work, I usually flip a switch where you're हाँ चलो अभी ये करना है, अभी थोड़ा over the top होगा, because you are on stage. I don't see subtle acting happening on stage. Because if you're doing subtle acting, तो पहले 2 रोक देख सकते हैं, उसके बाद
कोई नहीं देख सकता. Correct.
Yeah, there is always, when you're doing something on stage, there is a little, because this can't happen. You're this always, even if you're supposed to be. Camera is wonderful, because then camera you can really capture you're trying to capture a really solemn moment somewhere, but on stage you're trying to create a solemn moment for 500 people. How do you do that? You can't do that by hiding your face.
मैं जो पूछना चाह रहा हूँ वो ये basically कि ये clowning करने के बाद does it free you up?
Absolutely does. It really loosens people up. A lot
in real life also.
Yeah, a lot of people, I think, do clowning workshops that really makes them free up in like regular. And a lot of clowning workshops I've been in didn't have actors, because they're not really interested in the clowning aspect of it. It's people who are like regular day jobs. They've got, and the clowning workshops are short. Most acting workshops are a little longer. So clowning workshop, they can do a weekend and they're happy about it. But yeah, a lot of clowning workshops are just like, ganda bhi bahut clowning workshops hua hai.
Okay.
So there's that aspect of really being comfortable with your clown. It may not be who you are at all. If you're an August clown, you're a very, like if you're looking at commedia dell'arte, it's just, you've got these very specific. I was talking to. It's so weird. I was talking to Shantanu, who directed Chintu ka birthday like day before yesterday, about this, because he specifically wanted that, because he teaches film, and he wanted to understand this. And commedia works with stereotypes, and sometimes those stereotypes are horrific, because you have to say things to really commit to that character. So you have to be able to disjoint yourself. It's your clown or it's your character that you've created on stage, but it's not you. So you have to be comfortable enough to be like, this is not me. And then once the nose comes off, the character comes off.
And is it that simple? मैंने nose उतारी तो मैं normal आदर
No,
बन
you
गया.
have to make it like you don't talk like this guy Mark Bell was our teacher, and Mark Bell is fantastic director, great clown. He's done a bunch of stuff on West End. He's directed The Play That Goes Wrong with Mischief Theatre, and so you can look it up. And Mark Bell was like, he would stop talking to you if you after the act is over and you still continue to talk to him, because once the kind of cut has happened, like, okay, now the act is done. If you continue to talk to him as yourself with the nose on, he will keep talking to you as the character. It's like, until you take the nose off, I'm not going to start talking to you normally or give you any notes.
Yeah, man, I'm very fascinated with these little exercises that sort of take you out from the humdrum of your day, just when you're like on a standard tone and kind of like essay. So I remember I went to a seminar once, not a self-help seminar, some seminar to free up your expression, like a long time ago. One of the exercises they had us do, पानी आ गया.
हाँ.
एक exercise उसके अंदर ये थी जिसके अंदर ना, you had to say the name of something. It should not be from your environment, and the next thing does not have to be pattern नहीं होना चाहिए. मतलब अगर मैं बोल रहा हूँ sky,
Pizza.
तो exactly, right? Then it's like sky, pizza, freedom,
Shoes.
crystal,
हाँ.
right? मेरे मन में आ रहा sky, freedom.
But you can still create some logical this, because if you're doing freedom and I said shoes, then your next thing is, oh, dandi march, because now you can create anything you want with random thought.
But what it does, if you do it right, is I just feel like a very weird sensation here in the hair.
Yeah.
And I'm suddenly more relaxed. So I'm just wondering, let's say you've done all of these things, theater maybe or comedy maybe. Are there specific exercises you use that you want to share that are really good to kind of open up your expression?
A lot of breathing work, yeah. A lot of breathing work. A lot of I think the most comfortable stuff is meditative work, kind of, which is
Jaise?
This simple, really quick. Which is the thing is, I'm watching all these really like Huberman and all these guys who are talking about like breathing techniques and the whole
This is the sigh.
Yeah. So all those kind of have their base in, like, if you look at it in pranayam, and like these are
Correct.
very, very, like, it's been like we have it and we're just not exploring it in our so like if you look at Kalari, which is the Indian martial art, which is used very well used for acting. It's a fantastic thing because it just tones you up for the rigor of stage.
Who is an actor who's doing Kalari?
So many. If you look at so if you go to Pondicherry, Adi Shakti is one of the best places to actually, and it'll kill you to do that workshop. Like, you really need to be like on your A game to be able to pull through that workshop.
Are you using actual swords there?
No. So there's Kalari and there's Chow. So Chow is more acting oriented, and like it's that. So you're using Kalari and Chow, and I think they use weapons at but your initial training. No. Chow I've done a little bit. Kalari is very difficult. I like having a mic to hold and just being able to have control on the audience. I think that you figure out your space as an actor. I am physical with gags. I love pulling gags off, but I'm very I don't really get into the creating an image with your body, but I love watching that. Yeah. But I don't enjoy the process. So for me, and that's a personal thing.
So like, what is an exercise that you've done that has sort of ripped you apart?
A lot of Laban. I enjoyed the Laban.
Laban kya hota hai?
Laban is based on efforts. So everything you do is some kind of effort that you're putting behind. So it could be a flick, it could be a dab, it could be a press, it could be a punch, it could be a ring. So everything has a kind of, you're trying to like really figure out. So if you apply that effort to each line that you're saying in a script, and there are ways to transition from each effort. So even if you just do it on the surface level, you are still pulling off a pretty convincing performance. And if you then try to,
Example, जैसे कैसे?
so अगर मैं dab कर रहा हूँ तेरे साथ, I'm just dabbing every line that I'm talking to you about. अरे चल ना चाय पीने चलते. And then if you go from that to a more glide, अरे चल ना चाय पीने चलते हैं bro, it's okay, we can actually make it happen. ठीक है, breakup हो गया यार, you never, and वैसे भी उसका, she never really liked you, so now you're going from these quick light efforts because you're trying to convince somebody, and what's your intention behind it? So then when you put your intention behind it, then that's even better, because now you've started really getting into what's my intent, what do I want him to actually what do I want to accomplish by saying these things to him. So now you've really attached intent to these lines. But even if you just do it on surface level, you can pull off a performance that is still better than a lot of stuff you see on TV.
Yeah.
So it's really weird how much control it can give you, and it's really good for when suddenly you've been handed a script and said and told ye karo. So, and then if you're going from a light effort to a slightly heavier effort, so if you're going from a, it's not logical to go from a glide to a punch. It's not fun. But if I go from a glide to a punch and I'm to a press and I'm telling you that don't do this, and then when I go to a punch, it makes sense because now you've seen it coming. So now
Right,
while
the transition
watching
is
it,
smoother.
yeah. So it's a very simple thing. It just takes one line, but you have to be aware of these little things.
And to get it right, are you doing this intuitively or are you reading the line first in your standard voice and then modulating it?
You're trying to make it as comfortable as possible, where you don't see the transition anymore.
And, you know, I'm nerding out over this, bro, but like I remember when Rajat sir came on and he had this full, एक होता ना power का नशा हो जाता है जब वो, when he becomes this form of
Yeah,
Mackie,
Macbeth, huh?
Macbeth. Right, I had goosebumps because that is something that, you know, I've never seen him like that, number one, and that he just embodied the character. Essay, do you find that when you are doing theater work, I mean, comedy, it's a little different because I'm assuming it's more narration and more like it's your personality, right? But as an actor on stage, do you find certain emotions or certain scenes more challenging than others, and what could those be?
I find it the same kind of effort that is going in, because you're trying to, even when you're telling a story, you are still, you can create a slightly three-dimensional character or two-dimensional character when you're doing a play. The only difference is when you're doing stand-up, it is better to have a one-dimensional character. Zakir had told me this. I was doing something where I was talking about my grandmother, and I'm doing this whole bit about Dadi. And Dadi is a human being. So Dadi has moods. Dadi kabhi gussa hoti hai, Dadi kabhi sarcastic hoti hai, Dadi kabhi ye sab cheezein. He's like, and the bit wasn't really hitting home. He came in and ऐसे बोलता है मेरे को कि एक चीज़ चेंज कर दे, दादी को वन डायमेंशनल बना दे. कि दादी has these four characteristics which remain consistent through the 10-15 minutes that you're talking about her.
She's not a living, breathing space.
She is a living, breathing person. But the thing is, when you're doing stand-up, she's a living, breathing person when you're creating a short film with Dadi. But when you're doing stand-up and you're narrating a story, if I start the story as this character and then change the character 5 minutes in, the audience is lost. They want to be able to follow the story, not the recalibration of the character, because you don't have enough time to recalibrate the character in 5 minutes. And that's the problem. With film, you have time to see the transition. With stand-up, you don't have the time. So it's better to create everything right at the top. Create that character. You want her to be sarcastic, you want her to be this. She can be loving, but then she's always sarcastic in that aspect. She never loses that. So that is her character. Please keep that consistent. The moment I did that, everything changed. Because then I was getting new punchlines, because even when she's nice to me, there's a punchline that can come in that can flip that over, because I kept that character that's consistent, which might be lies.
Right.
So you're still lying. You're still creating a character on stage. You're still creating a character for yourself. I don't really play जो मैं हूँ वो नहीं हूँ stage पे, which is this sounds right. Like I am not what my normal personality is on stage. It's always a heightened version of myself or a completely different person with the stand-up, which kind of works with theater also. which is coming back to what you're saying. It's kind of the same. You're creating a character for yourself, a persona on stage. So it's just that with stand-up, you're seeing that persona grow over time. With the play, you see it kind of encapsulated in that, and then it ends there, and then you move on to the next character.
Does this bleed into your real life?
Not as much, yaar. And the thing is, people expect it to bleed into your real life. And it's like, yaar, tu normally तो funny नहीं है. तो मैं क्या पूरा time, am I asking you to do accounts even while sitting at the dinner table? And people do that with doctors, because I think I understand why doctors get irritated when people are just asking them in a normal setting. अरे देखो ना, हाँ ये देखो ना, ये हो रहा है, मुझे क्या करूँ? It must be irritating for a doctor. So it's the same kind of logic, where you're expecting a person to be on. It's a switch. So it's like that. Yeah, it's the same as asking a singer to, like, those singers really enjoy singing songs when you ask them to sing a song.
No, it's so bad. No, चल गा.
हाँ, वो बहुत, हाँ, ऐसे कोई बोलेगा. Then you're out at some weird party in Gurgaon. That's a very separate चल गा. Dude, I landed in Delhi. This happened. मैं बैठा हूँ वहाँ पे, and I'm waiting for Vinay's flight to land because they're coming like आधे घंटे का टाइम है. तो मैं बोला ठीक है, चल मैं खाना खा लेता हूँ. अब मैं बैठा हूँ, and it's like 11 o'clock, and I've been shooting all day and caught a flight, and I've not eaten. I just didn't get एक कटोरी दाल खाली set पे, because we were trying to finish my stuff so that I catch the flight to Delhi. तो मैं बैठा हूँ वहाँ पे, and I'm getting my first, like, I bought a sandwich, and it's my first bite I'm having. I just put it in my mouth. खाया मैंने पहला bite, and this dude comes up to me and he's like, I've seen you somewhere. YouTube. Yes, I'm on YouTube. I go, what do you do? Tell. अरे and I'm like, fuck, मैं दिल्ली पहुंच गया हूँ. It's very clear I'm in Delhi, and up till that point, and this kept happening. नहीं more, and I'm telling him that I've done this and that. नहीं और बताओ कहीं और देख. अरे ये क्या कर रहा है मेरे को constantly? It's like, because I'm not really giving him exactly what he needs as stimulus for where he's seen me somewhere in his life.
It's my responsibility to tell you where you've seen me.
And is this happening constantly? नहीं YouTube नहीं. शायद कॉमिक्स था. नहीं वो नहीं. And it started really, and if I wasn't that hungry, I would have gotten up and walked away. It's like, नहीं मेरे को बस, I just want to be left alone, dude.
Yeah.
And it was just such a surreal thing. It was like, yep, this is I'm in Delhi.
भाई यार, हाँ, मतलब ऐसा हो जाता है, लोग आते हैं, but like I think usually people are nicer. Sometimes they're just so fucking crazy. Like I remember मैं एक शादी पे गया था अभी, and like, you know, our shots go viral on whatnot. Our shots really go viral. So I'm getting this nice ass जो उस पे cocktail bar लगी हुई है. My friend is like, hey, for you connoisseurs, there's this, you know, these 3 bartenders and these 5-6 drinks, you can have them, and they're not like bad drinks. You know, like how they make really bad drinks by labeling the drink as the name of the bride and groom mixed together. Oh God. It's like Ritu and Rahul sugar punch. ऐसी कोई चूतिया सी चीज बनाते हैं वो. तो अच्छी drinks हैं. And I'm just like, you know, I've just come out. Tiring day. मैं आके यार अब एक gin and tonic पियेंगे, मजे आएंगे. 3-4 लोगों को डांस करते देखेंगे, पागल के पंती देखेंगे. I'm just gonna enjoy myself, right? Full like. And this dude who's like taller than I am, like 6'4", but he's a kid. 17-16 साल का है, लंबा है बहुत ज्यादा. आदर ऐसे ट्रैप पकड़ता कहता है, ऐसे से फिंगर वैगिंग करता रहता है, इंटरनेट ऐसे, और उसने पी रखी होती है बहुत ज्यादा पी रखी. हाँ यार हाँ. और मैं उसको ना, लाइक, मैंने देखा कभी वर्ल्ड लीडर्स की, वो जो साइकोलॉजी देखते हैं बॉडी लैंग्वेज के अंदर, किसने कैसे हाथ मिलाया ऐसे. मैं उसको सटली पीछे करता हूँ. हाँ ब्रो, हाँ दोस्तकास्ट, हाँ बढ़िया. दूसरा ट्रैप पकड़ता है, मेरे साथ चल, एक दारू पीते हैं. ऐसे यार, मैं ऐसा होगा कि अब मैं ऐसे क्या बोलूं, बदतमीजी करूं या फिर क्या पता है ब्राइड ग्रूम का होगा, क्या करूं. मैं उसका हाथ मिलाया. So यार, great to meet you, but I'm gonna go. And I kept pushing him apart, and he kept grabbing my like trap further and further. At that point, I was like, bro, he's gonna get a beat down because not even my first drink, he's fucking hammered. And then the entire night he just gave me like sorry eyes that I did it too much, whatever. But it's so weird. I don't think people are necessarily good at handling people coming into your space और उसको फिर navigate करके बाहर निकलना के लिए.
I think you were there after the show when this woman came in and she was talking to me. And मैंने भी था वहाँ पे, and she just kept going like, you were good, you were so good, आप क्या थे क्या थे? और and Vinay just goes, आप चिल्ला लीजिए उस पे, आप चिल्ला लीजिए ना उस पे. And then I think she got a little offended. But Vinay was right. Vinay बोल रहा है कि आप तो चिल्ला रही हैं उस पे, अगर अच्छा लगा था तो अच्छे से सहूलियत से भी बोल सकते हैं.
पर बड़ा मुश्किल नहीं होता जैसे you're still getting at a character और लोग आके जैसे मैं भी तारीफ कर रहा था, मैं बोल रहा था भाई क्या फेमिनिटी थी, उस टाइम समझ नहीं आता ना क्या बोले. like as an admirer what do you go and say, hey bro great stuff, तुम बोलोगे अच्छा कॉकी कॉकी तरीके से तारीफ कर रहा है. like it's there's no rules for how do you compliment someone for once they're finished, and I'm not even sure that you were there to necessarily meet people, maybe you just want to go back home.
Yeah, so what happened was क्या बोलते हैं, who was there the other day? हाँ, तो Monish was there. I think I said Monish so Monish was on C for Clown. I think I misquoted his name I think earlier. So Monish was making the announcement. So Monish ने क्या किया? We had a 6 o'clock and a 5 o'clock and an 8 o'clock. So 5 o'clock के show के बाद I usually don't remove my makeup. Vinay also doesn't. Everybody else removes their makeup and gets back into makeup for the 8 o'clock. अभी मोनिश ने क्या बोल दिया, मोनिश ने बोला कि आप प्लीज डोंट डू फोटोग्राफी और व्हाटएवर ड्यूरिंग द शो, the actors will finish the show and meet you afterwards if you would like. They if you wait for them, they will come. They will come afterwards. Then they after the 5 o'clock. So now there are people waiting, specifically who've come because they watched the podcast or they've watched Vinay, and both of us are not coming out because now we're still in makeup. Ultimately, we had to come out.
Right.
We call them at the back, and now there are photos of me in clown makeup with like a t-shirt and denims on. With 6 people just standing around me.
जैसे सड़क पे होता है ना जो बंदा पूरा सारे वो पहन लेता है.
It's like I'm prepared for an Indian match, but there is no blue on my face.
Yeah. यार वो have you seen those people जो बिल्कुल एकदम they dress up in all golden and just stand on the street and don't move? What is that clowning? Is that miming? उसे क्या बोलते हैं?
It's mime. Kind of mime.
Okay.
So it's like it's some form of street performance which is closer to mime than clowning.
Okay.
Because they're not really moving. They're not really. You're creating one kind of like, and that's a very difficult art. But yeah, it's more close to mime. So holding things like holding a position.
Yeah, because it's very stiff, and then someone will try to fuck with you.
Yeah, which is and they get very irritated with that. Which is don't do that.
Yeah,
but चुपचाप फोटो लो जाओ.
But यार एक बात होता है, मतलब लोग तो हरामी होते हैं, खाली बैठे होते हैं, आइस को छेड़ते हैं, आइस को परेशान करते हैं. That's का.
I've seen videos जो होते हैं ना Kings की Queen's Guard.
हाँ उसकी बात करने वाला था मैं.
हाँ तो वो लोग को I've seen videos where they lose it.
Yeah.
Because people try to sometimes touch the gun, and that's a legit gun.
Yeah.
And it's like you're touching a soldier's gun. So people they really step back that way right now. So they've seen videos where they lose it at the people, and it's a very military way of saying step the fuck back. I've got a gun in my hand, and I will put you down on the ground. I'm a trained officer.
Yeah, but their hats are so ridiculous.
Yeah, unnecessary. At some point, it's like a lot of them during the summers just collapse out of heat exhaustion. Yeah, there are videos. So I've just been getting all these weird videos. The moment you go there, it's just तुम्हारा algorithm change हो जाता है UK का. That you start getting all these.
Bro, I was in the UK for a brief while and my algorithm has never changed since. वहाँ ना वो क्या करते हैं, वो जो गाय और वो होते हैं ना horses, उनके hooves की जो cutting करते हैं ना,
अरे यार,
they're so satisfying to watch. And
मेरा वो है, and recently the thing is मैंने 5 chiropractor videos देख लिए, and now it is just everywhere on my YouTube. It's like this man is insane. He's got some weird fetish. ये खाली हड्डियों की आवाज सुनते रहता है.
Have you been to a chiropractor?
No, never. I do a lot of like I've got problems. I've got a lot of
हाँ नहीं, but chiropractor it's I'm supposed to go soon because I'm very मैं चाहता हूँ कि वो मुझे adjust करे और मैं ठीक हो जाऊँ किस तरह से.
I think a chiropractor would be very enjoyable as an experience.
Yeah, and then also as a podcast.
But Bombay में अच्छे नहीं होते यार.
नहीं?
पता नहीं, I've not really found someone who's like super, like somebody is going like, dude तेरे को तो जाना ही चाहिए इसके पास. It's very easy to find some. I don't know if it's like a very physiotherapist is very different from a chiropractor.
Right.
So every time I go to someone, it's either the clinics is some kind of physiotherapy clinic where they are
also doing chiropractor.
Yeah, stuff, so it's not like someone who's exclusively doing that, because I think it's a very tough sell for Indians.
It is
हड्डियाँ तो तोड़ रहा है मेरी, मसाज करा दे.
प्लस और पता है क्या, आई डोंट नो, एक बहुत ही क्रेजी वो है, एक बंदी की ना नाभि इज लाइक स्लाइटली अप, कुछ बीटी होती है उसको, और वो ऐसे एक गांव की औरत है। तो एक तो होता है कायरोप्रैक्टर का प्रॉपर, लेकिन मैम अब आप सांस लीजिए और मैं ऐसे करूंगा। एक देसी कायरोप्रैक्टर होता है, उसको नीचे लिटाता है, उसका पैर उसके यहाँ पे रखता है और बोलता है श्वास लीजिए श्वास, और उसका हाथ पकड़ता है और खींच देता है ऐसे, और आवाज आती है "Ah!" ऐसे, जैसे यू नो लाइक इट्स लाइक अ विच लाइक स्क्वील दैट शी मेक्स, एंड वो दोनों तरफ ये करता है, एंड देन शी ऐसे कंटेंटली ऐसे लेटी हुई है, कह रही अब देखो ना भी थोड़ी ठीक हो गई है, थोड़ी सूजन होगी, सॉर्ट हो जाएगा। It's because of quacks like that, that kind of work, that people have a bad rep for
Yeah, yeah.
chiropractors.
Also the chiropractor, like a chiropractor requires के there's a lot of contact, and I think we are
Yeah,
a little, हम लोग थोड़ा डरते, because that's a lot of contact that the guy needs
right.
for. So now you're, and the thing is, like बाहर देखोगे तो like a dude is working on a woman is working on a dude, and
Yeah,
it's
and she's naked also, you know, sometimes. Like, that's part of the
हाँ
chiropractor's appeal. Like, they're like, bro, ये वाला करते हैं ऐसे, इस पे views आएंगे.
अच्छा हाँ, वो व्यूज वाले तो अलग ही होते हैं, बट लाइक
हाँ,
यू आर वर्किंग विद पीपल हु आर लाइक, इट्स नॉट अ, but I think people get uncomfortable, and there's not enough people, so you're shutting off one entire side of revenue for you. So I don't think chiropractor is a very like strong profession for Indian doctors.
I saw this one chiropractor who was slightly overweight, who's made a video in Delhi. Now he's got this woman in a yoga pants, और उसने उसके पैर से ऊपर उठा रखे हैं, ठीक है? So you can see the back of it, like it's the shins and the calves and all of that, but in the yoga pants. And bro, where the vagina is, he takes his two fingers there and he does some adjustments. And you're like, what the fuck? And then you try to comment what the fuck, and the comments are blocked.
Shit, dude. ये अजीब कुछ, we take something that is like just simple as a, मैं खाली गर्दन क्रैक के, I'm just impressed by how they crack a
Yeah.
person's neck. But then the problem is वो हम लोग का 50 रुपए का नाई भी करता है.
हाँ
तो
हाँ
the problem is जो बार कर रहा है तुम्हारे लिए, वो कायरोप्रैक्टर डिग्री के साथ कर रहा है, और साइड में तुमको वीडियो मिल रहे हैं वहाँ पे वो तेल लगाने के बाद बोल रहा है, तो what's the difference? बोलता है मैं 50 रुपए की जगह 1500 रुपए क्यों दूं?
भाई हाँ, makes sense. Yesterday these guys were here, they were talking about how there's a very sexual thing that a nai will do to you when he's using that machine. It's like, go in your ear like this, no? It's like, you never said कि मेरे कान में उंगली डालो. But वो डालता है, कोई मना नहीं करता.
हाँ, it's this is happening. This is happening. Let's just go with the flow.
Yeah, bro. It's I don't think so. Man, fucking crazy. I got a haircut recently.
हाँ.
And मैं random जगह पे चला गया, and that dude was just like, he had a death wish because he wanted to quit his job. So he chose me, bro. मेरा होठ काट दिया यहाँ से, और मैं भी ना अंदर से पैसे अग्रेसिवली गुस्सा आया जा रहा है। एक तो वहाँ पे साइड के अंकल फालतू की बातें कर रहे हैं, इस दुनिया में है ही क्या, और मतलब पैसे क्यों कमाने हैं, ठीक है? Just this compact barber shop in Bandra, और मैं सुन रहा हूँ, and this barber is like lowest hierarchy of barber, because there are two like elder barbers who own the shop,
हाँ.
and he's the helper barber. So that's who I've got. Right? He was sitting in the back. I thought he's like the cleaner, but then he raised up to the status of being the barber, and he started cutting my hair, right?
हाँ.
तो वो काट रहा है, ऐसे ऐसे कर रहा है। मैंने कहा यार ये बाल ऐसे रहेंगे कि हाँ सर ये तो ऐसे ही रहेंगे। तो he's not interested in cutting my hair at all, right? And he's वो ना पूरा जो रेजर है ना ऐसे स्किन में घुसा रहा है कि इसको मैं मारूंगा आज, you know.
मेरे से नहीं होता वो. I have gotten a shave once.
Yeah.
And the number of micro cuts I had, उसके, and for some reason यहाँ it was just the number of, I couldn't even tell. It's like अभी like Dettol डालूंगा तो मैं तो मर जाऊंगा. If I put some sort of antiseptic,
Yeah.
I will die.
On your own or with the barber?
The barber, I felt that if I went back home and tried to treat this with some form of antiseptic, I will die of pain, because I could feel the number of cuts this guy's done. एक तो I don't understand, ऐसे कर करके इतनी तो क्लोज मेरे को दाढ़ी चाहिए भी नहीं थी बनने मेरी, तो वो चिमटी भी काट रहा है स्किन की. And after that I gave up. I was like, I will never try to get a
it's good to shave at home on your own.
Yeah.
I used to live in Boston, and बाकी सारी जगह पे वो haircut बड़ा expensive होता था. I used to go to this Colombian run barber shop, ठीक है? उसमें सारे Colombian non-stop वो Latin music चल रहा होता, कुम्बिया चला के अपना फिल चिल कर रहे होते हैं, ठीक है? तो जैसे थोड़े बदतमीज बार्बर होते हैं पर हंसी मजाक भी होते हैं, इस तरह के थे वो. So instead of like going around like normal Indian barbers, he would just rotate you to wherever you wanted to be. So all the chairs were like 360 degrees swiveling, rotating, ठीक है? तो कई बार क्या होता था, he would be just staring into his tits as he's cutting your hair like this. He would just keep rotating you. And वो, I don't know, like they have this alcohol antiseptic that they use before they want to shave you, right?
Yeah.
They use the worst grade industrial chemical possible because I would have pimples right after. I specifically go and say कि bro यार ये alcohol मत लगाना. Just go like this, use a swab and just put it here and then just give it a tip.
नहीं होता है. अब वो देखा तूने जो आग से करते हैं बाल काटते हैं.
हाँ, बांग्लादेश में होता है.
बांग्लादेश में होता है. I thought it's like Bombay or someplace.
No, it's गोरे जाते हैं ना कराने के लिए.
हाँ, टर्की में भी होता है शायद. All these like insane barbers are, and they're using like fire and I don't know. And I saw one where he put it on fire और वो रुका है for stuff to get done, and then he puts it out. It's like now it's sufficiently cut according to.
Yeah, it's like bartenders. दो तरह के होते हैं. There's a mixologist bartender and there's a flair bartender, right? I think they have the same thing here. Yeah. So, bro, tell me something. How's the UK comedy scene? Because I don't know anyone else who does it from India there beyond Veer Das who does like global shit.
Yeah, so Veer has a massive Indian audience. So I've opened for Veer over the year, in like there. So over the last year, but I think I've opened for a lot of Indian comedians who decided to come. So there's a lot of desi public जो आती है वहाँ पे. So that's like great.
और गोरे भी आते हैं. Do they get the jokes?
आते हैं. I think Veer caters to the maximum number of white people coming in for his show.
Okay.
Also because of the sheer size of his audience.
Right.
Because he's doing a show that is probably triple of what everybody else is doing. And like if you see Upmanyu will probably do like an auditorium which is same in number as Veer, but it is heavily like Indian students and people who are our age and people who are working professionals and things like that. But there's a lot of Indian connect, and I think he makes it very clear that he's going to be doing it in Hindi. I think he really goes out of his way to say it's Hindi. Veer, I think Veer is very clear about it being English, but if it is in Hindi, he retranslates it. So he writes the joke accordingly so that the translation itself is funny.
He does Hindi comedy also.
Veer does Hindi, na? There are times when Veer speaks in Hindi, na?
No, he says some lines here and there. I've never seen him do full Hindi comedy.
Yeah, he doesn't do full. But like if he's using a reference that is a major punchline, he'll retranslate it to. Because even if he's doing it in English, there are some references which are just completely Indian in nature.
Right.
Even if he's speaking it in English. It's just some things that are just very, very Indian. So he has to retranslate and give context to these people. So then the way he retranslates it and the way he just makes it comfortable enough for them to understand it as well as make it funny for us while giving the translation. It's not just so it's just very cleverly done.
And have you done like ऐसा हुआ है कभी you've acted with a theatre group in the UK with non-brown actors in plays made for like just say the audiences of London, the regular play going audiences?
We did it for our graduation and things like that. We did The Tempest, we did Blood Wedding, and though Blood Wedding I wasn't there like on a great level because I was already midway through shooting for something else. So I was trying to shoot while I was trying to complete the course, and then last minute like I ended up doing like 1-2 things, and somehow they figured out how to get me enough stage time to let me graduate, because otherwise I would have to defer my admission, which was a big problem for me, because that means I have to sit for another 3 months again in school, because now it's like you're already not making money while you're studying, and you've reached a point in your life where you want to be constantly working. This is like the prime working age or time. So we did it for those audiences. I've realized other than language barrier, because I've done stand-up in New York, I've done stand-up and theatre in UK, we've done it in France with subtitles, we've done Hindi play with subtitles at the bottom, we've done it in Chile with Spanish subtitles and like 10,000 people watching. And I'm underestimating the number of people. It's 10,000 at least.
Subtitles के साथ Hindi, English play in Spanish?
Yeah, so we translate the Hindi to an English. We did this show called, this is directed by Atul Kumar, called Piya Bhairupya. This is the company theatre. And we toured with it. I toured with it for a long time. They're still performing the show. So it was an adaptation of Shakespeare's Twelfth Night. So क्या किया था उन लोगों ने, they took the original Shakespeare text, converted it to this loose Hindi Punjabi translation, which Amitosh did, and he's one of the actors in the show as well, but he's a very gifted writer, Amitosh Lakpal. And then what happened was everybody bought their own like sense to it. Like the role I was doing was initially by Mantra, and Mantra the RJ. And what Mantra got in a certain Bengali aspect to the character. So that's the one that I adopted when I stepped in for him. And so that kind of stuck to the character. Similarly, how Jim brought in the Mexican aspect. So then you kind of slip into it and then you find your own ways of doing it. So in Pia Bhairupia, kya hua tha? Everybody bought their own little, like Trupti bought in some Marathi aspects to the translation itself. Neha was bringing in some Bundelkhandi, and those aspects were all brought in because it became so rich because of the sheer eclecticness of the cast. Itne log the, and like we all were from different aspects of India and all
and
had
there's
different.
a Chilean audience, it's all native
So
Chilean.
what happened was, so the Shakespeare text was translated from pentameter to Hindi, this Hindi Punjabi kind of lingo, and then that we sat down again and we rewrote that Punjabi text into English text, which was trying to continue the rhymes in our way, which was from the Punjabi and like that kind of Hindi to English, which has that kind of rhyme. And then that English script was sent to a Spanish translator, to a French translator, to a Chinese translator, and shows were done in all these places based on that, and those subtitles were there. So in Chile, we realized that we could actually perform, and like even if we fumble the lines, they would laugh because the line itself
Sorry, just
is
a
funny.
small interruption. So, those subtitles, they were handed as A4 size sheets, or were they displaying on a screen?
No, on screen. So like when you're saying something, get out of here, it's coming down right under. So it's like a lot of times the screens were. So we used to have the ticker at the bottom, but we hated the ticker on the side because people would keep doing this throughout the show.
Hmm.
So also our speed had to be slowed down, because then that means if we keep going dialogue to dialogue to dialogue to dialogue, the ticker keeps changing very fast. So we had to slow down our speed, say one line, then the next one, then the next one.
Man, so you can really do any play in the world if with subtitles.
Yeah, similar to how you can watch any piece of content now with just subtitles. You're watching Money Heist, you're watching all the Korean shows. You want to watch it in the original language, but read the subtitles.
So, and also you can just say whatever the fuck, और वो चल जाएगा वहाँ पे.
वो तो चल जाएगा. And then like Atul started catching it, because after a while we used to say, कभी-कभी we would fuck up the punchline and people are still laughing because the line itself is funny. तो उनको तो दिख रहा है अच्छे से, वो तो अच्छा ही है, फनी है, चल रहा है.
पर वहाँ पे पंच लाइन का लॉस इन ट्रांसलेशन नहीं होता, बिकॉज हम 3 बार ट्रांसलेट कर चुके हैं, राइट?
Yeah, you realize the situational comedy of Shakespeare still works. You realize that they're laughing at the situation. So you realize how strong those situations that he had created with the characters were, and how strong the characters were.
No wonder he's endured for so long, right?
Yeah.
While other playwrights are not as prominent.
Yeah, he is not without his problems. Like if you look at it from a 2022 lens, of course it's problematic. But dude, it's 2022 versus 1600s. There's a big change in like when you're really looking at it. And the thing is, if you try to sanitize it, if you're performing it, and we've had people who tried to sanitize it, and we were part of discussions of trying to sanitize some plays while performing them. If you sanitize it, you're shying away from showing what the reality was. I prefer Django the way Django was. You're watching that movie, you want to see the brutality.
Yeah.
No, the Tarantino one.
Yeah, I know.
They still use the same music. Yeah, they use the same. They did a redo of the music.
Wait, what?
Django is a very old Western movie with a white actor. Yeah,
Really?
Django was a white actor. Was it white or was he like Mexican that kind of heritage? I don't remember. But Django is a very old B-grade Clint Eastwood knockoff movie.
Of the same. उसमें भी slave ही होता है.
नहीं. That's what's cool about Tarantino, right? Let's kill Hitler. Let's make Django a black slave. Like what would happen if I did that and tried to create a B-grade kind of Western movie character into someone who's like properly heroic.
It's my favorite movie from Quentin Tarantino.
Dude, some things that I've been watching some guys, some stunt guys talking about, like he shoots her and then she flies there. And they're like, that doesn't make sense with the physics. And Tarantino is like, I don't want it to make sense.
Yeah.
I want the audience to go, what the fuck just happened when I shot the woman here and she flew there?
I love the bloodbath in the end where
It's from this scene. Like the
okay, huh. I also, it's insane. Samuel L. Jackson as that house, house and by. Yeah, it's what I don't know how he got into that. And in some लोगों ने उसको defend करा था when he was getting flack, right? Because it's an important piece of history. And who better than black actors to actually depict what happened?
He went to town. He was like talking to, I think Leonardo DiCaprio didn't want to do it. He wanted to sanitize it. It's not. It was worse than what like it can be written on paper. So it's like you better commit to it fully. That's what it was. So that's the idea, that if you're trying to show history and you're creating a period piece, you have to do it the way it was.
I also love कि उसको औरतों के पैर पसंद है. I just recently saw a clip where Quentin Tarantino Salma Hayek के पैर खा रहा है.
Oh.
Yeah, it's very weird. Like you would assume that his characters do it. There's obviously Once Upon a Time in Hollywood के अंदर you've got Margot Robbie's like soiled feet looking up वो cinema के अंदर बैठी हुई है and you can see her feet and that's like a Quentin Tarantino like fetish, foot fetish, whatever. But एक scene के अंदर मैंने देखा Salma Hayek is standing on a bar and he's just sucking her feet.
I didn't know. What movie is this?
The interesting thing probably is that this is a movie not directed by him. It's probably a movie where he's an actor.
It might be a sketch. It might be an SNL sketch or something. I don't know.
It's a real Quentin Tarantino. Yeah.
Acha. No, but SNL sketches have the actual actual celebrities. Okay, I'll look it up. But yeah, that's the idea of like you're taking, like if you're trying to sanitize something, and I'm not saying that you don't try to make a point. I'm not saying be like, oh God, you do it, you perform Shakespeare exactly as it is written. But no, if you're trying to sanitize and eliminate the parts that really make you uncomfortable, either lean into it and make a point, or completely flip it over. But don't sanitize it and ignore something that is probably a very vile piece of history. Then really lean into it and make a point about the fact that this is really vile.
I think people will enjoy watching the touring of the plays you did, What's Done is Done, and others, because there was one particular scene where Vinay Pathak and you, and I'm not going to reveal the scene because it, takes
we do the point. It's from the play. So the poem at the end is from the actual play. So it's a kind of, it's not a spin-off, but it keeps the essence of the poem that happens at the end.
Yeah.
So
the poem where you're standing at two extreme ends of the stage.
Yeah, that's when Macbeth has become the worst iteration of himself, and he's lost Lady Macbeth. And the idea was that these guys are cracking jokes about, like women and this and that, and he's making jokes about the women that he's, throughout the show. And then it's like, okay, you're laughing at that. How about you laugh at this? So then it goes into a very dark place. So it's like, oh, you find these jokes funny, right? These are all innocent pieces of humor. Like, oh, this is slightly on the line of being sexist. Okay. Okay. So let's just go completely across the line. Is this still funny? And you have to do that little thing to really make an impact there. So I've had conversations where it's like, why is you could have said, and also people don't try to separate you from the actor. They're pointing at me and telling me that you could have made a choice. I was like, yes, I did make a choice, because I know the end impact is much stronger if you're going on board with this guy is making these slightly on the line sexual jokes. Okay, now let's laugh at that as well.
But that point in the play, I swear to God, audience के अंदर से गैस निकल गई थी, लोगों की गांड फट गई थी देख के.
Yeah, because they have that initial nervous laughter.
Yeah.
And then it goes really into it. And the thing is, like with, I think Vinay and I comedy has that element, and it can be done with comedic. Baman Irani does that fantastically. Because you're laughing, and then he takes it to a serious place, and he knows the timing in his body. Again, theater rat.
Right.
So just knowing how fast to, because we know we want to ride a punchline wave, but we also know how to squash it really fast. At times better than dramatic actors.
Yeah, because लोगों की इस level पे गांड फट गई थी, because you also were not backing down. You
Yeah.
said one horrible statement about mutilating people. Then you were like, now let's bomb people.
Yeah.
Now let's also kill the babies. Now
Yeah.
let's destroy the environment. And then it's like, okay, you're bullying, there's a gag. They will save themselves because we love
Yeah.
these slapstick characters.
Because you've
But
been
they refuse
watching us,
to.
yeah, you've been watching us deflate every situation after
Yeah.
every scene in the show. And this time we refuse to deflate it.
And the fact that you're proclaiming it so loudly, this is
Yeah.
probably the first time where you've become instruments of Macbeth and just doing his bidding by announcing कि हम दुनिया के अंदर इस तरह की बुराई फैलाएंगे. अरे यार ये they were probably the only people we could relate to in the play because everyone else was an older book wala character, right? And,
Yeah.
and suddenly you turned on the audience. And that's when I was like, my God, bro, you know, I love theater. ऐसा देखना because I've never seen something like that. उससे पहले तो सब लोग धीरे धीरे unfold कर रहे हैं. Also, like, some of the parts in the play, they're difficult to get through at the start because there's a lot of dialogue, right? And a lot of proclamation. But I think all of that was needed to come to a place where you felt, as an audience, you felt entertained, you felt confused, you felt intense. But that place, I didn't think that, theater would go there.
It's the element of shock is very high with theater. You can really play around with shock value in theater, and but then that's what you're doing. You're setting up what's a joke, is you're setting up something, and then the shock is the fact that, oh, you just said the punchline, and the shock is coming off as laughter, like coming out as laughter. The gasp will probably be there in a dramatic piece, or you might just get emotional and cry. There's some sort of outlet which is very personal because of the proximity. But yeah, so it's something that I've always enjoyed doing, and stage is something that I really want to be doing I think for as long as I actually am acting. I do love film, and I really I think it is something. Film is probably more fun. Camera is more fun for me, because there's more things you can do. Of course, you can do a lot on stage, but there's more flexibility of finding small things with a camera that you can never really find on stage. Stage always has to be
subtlety.
bigger. So I've always had that as the primary, like even right now I'm doing theater with these guys, and these are shows that are kind of running. I would want to be like my first step there, and like if I'm in London, to be stand up again, like really enjoy all my stage time as really experimental stand up pieces that I am playing around with, maybe 1-man shows, 2-man shows, 2-person concerts, and playing around with that, flirting with the line of theater and stand up, and then devote the rest of the time on like camera work.
So what's next for you now? Like, what are some अब कौन से नए projects चल रहे हैं?
Abhi, I'm testing my new 1-hour special, and so one is an entirely stand up, the mic हाथ में पकड़ के बस बात कर रहा हूँ, which I'm storytelling, and it's about superheroes, and it's about the first Indian superhero.
Shaktiman?
On film. No, it's much older.
Okay,
So,
we'll find out.
yeah, so Shaktiman was older, but this guy is like, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like the first superhero I related to, and it's Indian, and the first superhero that my grandmother would relate to. And it was Amitabh Bachchan. Amitabh Bachchan was the superhero. So it's not like a small superhero character actor who's doing something. So that's one special that I'm working on. Then there's music. I want to get back to like an entire music special that I'm working on with some great musicians, and I'm doing solo work as well. And वापस आ जाऊंगा यार. I'll start doing like YouTube पे भी होएगा. The failed promise that I had from 1.5 years ago, I will put it back
to be
up.
consistent on YouTube.
Yeah, to be consistent on YouTube, to start putting out songs on YouTube, parodies. I'm working on a way to actually not get my channel banned from YouTube and still put up parodies.
Awesome, bro. मुझे तो मजा आया बात करके. I think you're a very eclectic, fun person to talk to, and I really appreciated the free theater masterclass. I don't know how much I'm gonna use, but नहीं, बहुत crazy है. Like what I love about you is the fact that you were someone else on stage. बिल्कुल Instagram पे फिर जाके ये देखिए boring music, क्या कहते हैं, phone review है. You're able to blend effortlessly. So I don't know what to call you. Like, comedian, बोलूँ, ये बोलूँ. Artist बोल देता हूँ, guys.
Yes, I think artist is the designation on Instagram also that I found.
Yeah.
But now I think I'm enjoying comedian on Instagram. Instagram comedian.
More clout.
हाँ,
If you
more
think
clout.
about it.
ज़्यादा अच्छा है. Let's do that.
So where can people follow you? The Aadar guy on Instagram?
Yeah, the other guy on Instagram, the other guy on YouTube, and you can watch the Internet Said So, the podcast that we have with Varun Thakur, Neville Shah, and Kautuk Srivastav. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome, bhai. Thank you so much for being here. I had fun.
Awesome.
What's your name?
What's my name is Aadar. Aadar, guys. Please. You think I should be used to this, considering like this is what Anu Uncle does all the time.
Yeah?
This is his thing on.
It's a power move, bro.
It's a power.
It's an authority thing.
Yeah, but he does it so loud. This is a beat mechanism for him.
Yeah?
He can play a table better than Zakir Hussain, I think.
See, I used to think you can't do it from the left hand, but you can. Anyway, cool. This was Aadar Malik on Dostcast. See you all in the next Tuesday or Friday episode. Jab bhi aata hai, don't forget to subscribe. Sayonara. Bye bye.